Hello folks, welcome back. So this will be a little quick review for next week, September 11 through September 15, Monday through Friday 2023. This will be a quick weekly review for the Forex market, and I want to start with the dollar index for next week. In previous weeks we've been following and we have been actually bullish, and last week, this is weekly candle, last week this was where we are as last week, and I pointed out this buy side liquidity. I said I am interested in seeing this rated, which means I wanted to see price go above the buy side liquidity, and we've done that already this past trading week, as we see here. Now, what's my bias for this coming week, starting on Monday 11th September 2023 through September 15? My bias remains bullish, and I would love to see this high, which is also known as buy side liquidity. I would love to see it rated. So this simply means that I'm looking for higher prices next week. We might open, come down a little, and then gravitate towards the buy side. I am interested in seeing this rated. This is for the weekly time frame for the dollar index. For the daily time frame, we are still bullish. I just want to quickly zoom out so that you see what's in price. Now, what did we actually achieve this week? Well, not everything you might be seeing on your chart, as it's running in price is gravitating towards its direction in real time. There is a little volume imbalance here. I forgot to mention this last week, and so we gravitated towards that volume imbalance just right here. A volume imbalance is when we have two candles. Yes, this is the close of this candle, and then this is the open of this other candle. There is an overlap between the close of candles 1 and candles 2. The close of candle 1 and the open of candle 2, there is a gap. So when we have gaps like this, we call them volume imbalance. And so in the future, we'll definitely see price coming to fill in those imbalances or those gaps. This is not our primary objective. It's not our primary objective. In fact, our objective was this. That's why I didn't really mention this last week. So coming to this next week, we would love to see price close above this volume imbalance and then eventually take out this buy side, which we saw on the weekly time frame. If you have been watching my previous videos, you would realize or remember how I walked you through this price action and how each of these means this is a fair value gap, this is a fair value gap, and I told you how we would be expecting higher prices, and so far this has delivered perfectly. So once you go to the euro dollar weekly time frame, weeks ago I said we're gravitating towards this weekly volume imbalance. Like I said, the volume imbalance is when we have two candles, candles 1, candles 2. Candles 1 closed, and where candles 2 opened was not exactly where candles 1 closed. There was a gap. Look at the bodies of the candle. There's a gap between them. Yes, we have the wicks overlapping, but there's a gap in the bodies of the candle. So while we're coming to the upside, while we're bullish on those previous weeks, I mentioned that we are trying to close up this volume imbalance here, which we actually did, and then immediately we've done that, we saw price gravitating, leaving from that array. We now see this as a premium, so price has to go back to discount, so giving us lower prices. Now zooming into our weekly time frame for the euro dollar, remember I'm bullish on the dollar index, so obviously the reverse will be the case for the euro dollar. Since I'm bullish on dollar index, the reverse will be the case for euro dollar, and we see this being so clear here. Let me put this bottom. So for me right now, for this coming week, I am bearish. I am heavily bearish on euro dollar. Remember, I have always mentioned that our target was this sell side liquidity. We have this low here. When we have lows like this, we most times see price want to gravitate, want to aggressively raid these lows. That is based on narrative. We want to see price raid these lows. Now, why are we interested in this low? We have hit our premium objective, which is the weekly volume imbalance. So the next objective will be our next weekly PD array, which was this, and I walked you through, which is the inversion fair value gap. A fair value gap is when we have 3 candles. I will always repeat this for the sake of my new students coming to watch my channel. A fair value gap is when we have 3 candles. Candles 1, candles 2, candles 3. And then the second candle has an imbalance which has not been filled by candles 1 and candles 3. What am I saying? Look at the wicks of candle 1, look at the high, and look at the wicks of candle 3, look at the low. They do not overlap, which leaves a gap, which leaves a space at the middle of candle 2. And that's where you see this orange shaded line. When we have fair value gaps like this, we expect them to act as real support or resistance. So which means when we trade through them, when they come back, they act as resistance. In this case, because the narrative for the weekly is bearish, we do not expect this fair value gap to hold, which means we expect price to raid it through because we have a bigger objective to the downside. So since we are raiding it through, when we come back to it, we want to see it act as resistance, which we are seeing here. So we see this candle opened, come back, and then acted as resistance. When we have signatures like this, it means we will be heavily bearish. And definitely, I would love you to see you in the next coming weeks, seeing how this price will deliver to the downside. So this is now acting as an inversion fair value gap because we have broken below it, closed below it. When we go back in, we want to see price respect this PD array, which is an inversion fair value gap. Now I want to see lower prices on the daily time frame for the euro dollar. So we want to see price raid this in this next coming weeks. Daily time frame, euro dollar. For our daily time frame, of course, we are still bearish. We are still bearish. Now, for our daily time frame, we want to see price gravitate. Sorry about these annotations, what I use while trading. We want to see price gravitate towards the sell side. Now, this was the inversion fair value gap we saw on our weekly time frame. This is inversion fair value gap for daily time frame. I would have more lessons about fair value gaps coming on my channel, so subscribe so that you won't miss any videos which I'll do in the future. So for now, I want to see price come below this low, which is sell side, for this coming week for the euro dollar. So without wasting much time, I want to go to the next, which is the British pound dollar. Quickly, before I continue, let me quickly go back to the euro dollar. So last week, after I posted my weekly analysis, I saw someone coming to my comment section and asking me if I'm crazy, that why am I thinking that euro dollar would raid this low, that I don't know what I'm doing. And I told him that he should come back weeks later to tell me thank you, and I'll be here on the comment section waiting in the next coming weeks to see your reaction when you finally see price taking out this weekly sell side. So quickly, pound dollar. In the previous weeks we saw price gravitating towards this order block here, a weekly order block. You might want to extend your chart and see what we have on this price, 1.30998. So once we got to this other block on the weekly time frame, I said that we want to be expecting lower prices. And then last week we had this price action here, and I specifically told you that I would be expecting price to gravitate towards this weekly consequent encroachment of this week. Consequent encroachment of a week is when we have a long week. We have a long week like this, and then we have a midpoint. The midpoint is always very sensitive. So I said we are gravitated towards this weekly volume imbalance, weekly consequent encroachment, and then ultimately we'll trade down to this other block, this very other block. Folks, you can go back and check that video. I did not delete anything, and I cannot edit it because it's already uploaded on YouTube, and see how price perfectly delivered down to this bullish order block. Now, what is my bias this coming week? Well, because I am bullish on dollar index, I am also bearish on the pound dollar, which means we want to see this other block raided. Remember, we've achieved our weekly objective, which is trading up to this other block. So we want to be seeing lower prices. We want to see real discount array being violated on our weekly time frame for the pound dollar. So coming up this next week, I want to see the pound dollar raid this sell side. Will it happen this week? I don't know, but I'm expecting lower prices gravitating towards the sell side. For our daily time frame for pound dollar, we also have the same price action. So last week I mentioned that when we have 4 consecutive candles like this, we tag them as a single candle, which is an order block, which we saw on the weekly time frame, and then we traded towards it just as I said. Now this coming week, I would love to see sell side, which is this low. This is a weekly low. It's also a daily low. I want to see price gravitating towards this area. So I am bearish for pound dollar this coming week. And then finally, I want to talk about the Canadian dollar, US CAD, USD CAD. Last week we had this price action. Remember, this is a weekly candle, and I mentioned clearly that I want to see price for the next week gravitate and take out this buy side. Folks, we have seen that happen this week. We took out this buy side, so price delivered perfectly. Now, what is my bias this coming week? I am still bullish on USD CAD, which means I'm still expecting higher prices gravitating towards this buy side. Are we going to deliver buy side, this buy side, this coming week? Well, I don't think so, because we have a large range to this buy side, but I'm expecting price to gravitate towards the high side, towards the upside, until we take out this buy side. It might take a week, 2 or 3 weeks, but I'm expecting higher prices for the Canadian dollar daily time frame. So last week I also mentioned that we had this daily fair value gap. Like I said, the fair value gap is when we have 3 candles, candles 1, candles 2, candles 3, and then the low of candles 1 and the high of candles 3. In this case, because the candles are bearish, they do not overlap. We do not see this week coming up and then this week coming down to overlap, which leaves a very big gap for the second candle. And then I'm annotating this with this rectangle that you're seeing here. Extend that to the right, it will be really sensitive. Remember, when it's not being respected, it's tagged as an inversion fair value gap. Why is it not respected? Because we are expecting higher prices on a higher time frame. So once we broke above it, we closed above it, coming down to it, we'll be expecting it to act as real support, and we are seeing that here. I mentioned this last week, and I said we want to take out the buy side, which is this. I said we have relative equal highs, which is this, and then we already pushed that. Now this coming week, on the daily time frame, I want to see this buy side taken. This buy side is what we see here on our weekly time frame. So I would like to see price gravitate towards the upside, but maybe it might come down a little bit first. Remember, we have little fair value gap here. Candles 1, candles 2, candles 3, which we've already seen price respected. But now we have another one here. I don't want to annotate these things because I want to keep my chart clean. We might see price coming down here, maybe. But ultimately, we want to see price go one direction towards the buy side. So folks, that's it for the week. The summary of this whole thing is that this coming week we want to see bullishness on dollar, and every other asset class we want to see some bearish scenarios, especially around the dollar crosses the major currencies. Now the question is, what will you do with this information? It's very simple. In this coming week, let's assume you're an asset trader, a particular asset against the dollar, and you have your assets as the quote currency. The quote currency is when we have base currency and we have quote currency. The base currency is the first currency on the currency pair, and the quote currency is the second currency on the currency pair. So when you have your currency as a quote currency, let's say for example the euro dollar, the euro is the base currency, the dollar is the quote currency. So when you have dollar as the quote currency, you should be expecting lower prices. When you have dollar as the base currency, you should be expecting higher prices. So what will you do with this information? This coming week, will you see retracements going to the opposite direction in these pairs? Yes, but predominantly the bigger candles will come in favor of what I just analyzed. So if you're trading euro dollar, for example, you should be looking for lower prices during this week. And what this simply means is that in major economic conditions, like economic news drivers situations, you want to be seeing prices supporting this particular analysis. I want to go back to euro dollar so that you see what I'm talking about. Okay, this is euro dollar. So what this simply means is that if we have a news, for example, by 12 or 1 a.m. today or 1 p.m., we should be expecting the news to gravitate towards the downside because it is supporting bearishness, and we want to see this rated in a hurry. I am not asking you to trade the news. This is not a signal service. I'm just telling you that these are the signatures you look for to be sure that, look, this price action is actually correct. Would you see some news drivers that are bullish in this case? Yes, but you see more news drivers that are bearish when trading the euro dollar or the pound dollar. And then something else you do with this information is, if you have a trading strategy, you should be looking for lower prices. Those in my private community, they know this fact. We have a strategy and we're always looking for lower prices. And I hope you find this really, really insightful. If you do, I want you to leave some comments, some likes, and then absolutely subscribe to this channel so that you won't be missing out on more videos that I'll be uploading, including weekly analysis like this. And until I talk to you next time, I wish you good luck and be safe.